Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the NYANCAST, the show where we look at one of the greatest stories ever told, in as much detail as we are capable of looking into it. I'm joined once again by Olivia,
Hello?
Rub of Rub's Gaming Corner fame,
What's up, gamers?
and a fellow named Yellow.
That's me.
So, this episode we're going to be looking at the two penultimate episodes leading up to the grand finale of the mainline series, starting with episode 7, which is relatively short. It's about 4 minutes. In this
It's that
episode,
long?
Both of these episodes are only 4 minutes ish, right?
No, episode 8's like 6 minutes, I think.
yeah, well over 6 minutes.
It's
But
got to be the beach episode while also being the
it
Yeah,
has
okay.
it has a lot of. We'll get to that episode later. Episode 7, I
Yeah,
think, is very dense, especially with religious symbolism, because we open in this spiritual surrealist adventure we're seeing Raku kind of end on here, and it kind of harkens back to movies like Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain, or similar sequences that you see a lot in movies, but never done as.
I think it reminds me a lot of one of the greatest comedies ever made, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, okay. I mean, I thought you might were gonna say Dante's Inferno, which I find
Dante's
to be a
Inferno
lot
would
more
be a
He'd also
comparable.
like Dante's
Comparable.
yeah, it'd be a
Inferno.
comparable
I
reference.
think that maybe while she's a cat, she's actually going through the 9 circles.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Whereas I think Monty Python definitely has its points. It's a very deep, interesting story. No matter what those guys were up to,
I
always just
think
really
the
fascinating.
way
But
they depict God is similar.
it's just kind of there in the
Yeah,
clouds.
just like an omnipotent
Yeah.
voice, I guess. I mean,
Well-
you can kind of go back to biblical references of that too,
Well,
of him just being a floating voice, really.
What I think is interesting here is that the god that she talks to responds to a Japanese name, implying it's a kami. It's a kami, which Japanese
right.
Shintoism, which is where the
That
word
explains
kami
why
comes from.
they're actually right about that the whole time because they're the best nation on earth. So that makes
Yes,
sense
yes.
they're right about that
But
as
a
well.
kami, a kami can be many different types of spirits, and there are around 8 million. So when she addresses this kami-sama, I was left to assume that it was probably a Japanese god, but the Judeo-Christian Islamic reference can easily be inferred by the glowing light in the clouds.
Could have
But
said Abrahamic.
I'm sorry, Abrahamic. That's a much better term to use there.
Yeah.
Abrahamic god. But it could also be a pagan god. It has a reference to like her letting the beast out or something like to that effect.
I think that's just supposed to be like, fact
Symbolic?
is all that means.
Yes, but again, the fact that it answers to a Japanese name for what Westerners
she
have
doesn't-
described as God, but is actually more of a complex system of religion.
Well, I think it could either be trying to say that the Japanese were actually right the entire time, or maybe it's some form of syncretism, since the
Oh,
Americans have had a huge impact on their culture.
yeah.
That's probably what it is. It's probably just syncretism.
I think that's what I'm going to go with too. That's a good point. So we're sticking with a Japanese god synchronicized, however you would say that, with Abrahamic tradition. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Makes enough sense, yeah.
But
I
it's
think that works.
again, it's asking her to let the beast out, which is an interesting thing for Abrahamic God to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this universe has people that are half animal. I think that's
Right.
probably what it is. Maybe he wants this person, since it's clearly a genetic accident. Maybe he wants to see whether or not this soul would be more comfortable as an animal or a human.
You sound like you're calling them a genetic mistake when it seems like
Yeah,
they are a kind of.
Well, do they go over where they come from?
What do you think? They're like radiation mutants from when they were bombed?
No,
or
I
they
something?
don't really
they're
go over
made
where
in
they
the
come
lab.
from.
Yeah,
no.
their mother was a cat,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Their
Yeah.
mother was a cat. That's all we really know, though. That's like the only
So I think
lore, I
this
guess, if
could
you want to
be-
say that we're really given.
I think it's a scientific experiment,
Okay.
probably made by some dirty American scientists.
I don't know if the implications are all there for what you're proposing, but
Yeah, we don't know. That's just
Don't
my
really
theory.
know. It seems like they might be more present in the universe than we're shown, because
I think the cat influence may be their symbolic Japanese side, while the
okay.
human is their symbolic American side.
Oh, that makes some sense, I guess. I
I mean, man, I had a better reasoning for thinking it, but I just lost it now.
They're clearly a minority group though, still.
Yes.
Um
Oh no, yeah, I remember why I think this, but we have to move on before I can explain my
oh,
thought
okay,
process.
okay. But this meeting with Kami-sama renews this Raku-chan's quest and entire character direction generally, or on a large scale, because now she is that beast, which I think was kind of a piece of genius writing, just turning this character on her head towards the end of the series, really exploring some new places we can go with her. The main character, the most well trod psychological profile in the series as well.
So you would say that her letting out the beast is a voluntary act.
Well, yeah.
I don't think it is.
Unless she's in some kind of hallucinoid state, or she's daydreaming.
It's left
It clearly
intentionally
isn't.
left intentionally vague, because
Yeah, it's very vague.
towards the end of the episode, and I actually during it, I think Koneko raises the question that maybe this is all the rabies, so perhaps
But
Neko
she does
girls
turn into
actually
a cat,
do.
though. She is
Yes.
literally a cat.
Yes, she is literally a
Unless you
cat.
mean the spiritual experience is
The
just
spiritual experience is what I was questioning.
Well,
If it's real.
something did turn her into a cat, clearly.
Yes, and Koneko thinks that it might be like weakening from the rabies infection, as opposed
So,
to
like, you
some
think her human
spiritual
side
event.
is caving to the true side of her?
Yes. Rabies' effect on Raku might be that she becomes more animalistic, which
This could be why she was so terrified of catching it.
yeah.
Who's not terrified of catching rabies, though?
I
Well,
mean,
oh,
everyone's terrified of the
Yeah.
unknown in the long run.
but like, it's pretty easy to treat in
So
humanity.
this isn't a voluntary act. This is an act of
I don't think she wants
an
to be a cat.
infection.
Rabies isn't treated, it's more prevented. I don't know if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
I don't know if there's any great treatments for when you get rabies.
That's a fantastic question, actually. we could kind of do a little bit of research, like, on live right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Rabies.
probably should do research.
I'll get back to you on that.
All right. Thank you, Yellow. Hitoshi's presence in this episode is just kind of showing his continued character just devolution as he gets more and more obsessed with this stalker and captor.
Yeah. Are we gonna talk about the scene where he thinks he sees him?
I think that might be real. I think the stalker is definitely sometimes there, which is what makes Hitoshi's hallucinations all the more pointed and
Koneko doesn't seem
scary.
to like say, "What do you mean?" when he says that man. So like,
It might just be
the difference between Hitoshi's hallucinations is that he snaps out of it. He realizes that it's not him, but this time
Yeah.
it's like an actual.
because
It's
he
him. It's
he even
definitely
says
him.
that man. He doesn't just look at like some guy driving a truck and go like, "Oh," and
Yeah.
then immediately go like, "Oh no, it's not actually him." I'm
Which-
just seeing things.
either implies that it's definitely I on my multiple viewings I always assumed that it meant that this was the real guy this time, but it could definitely
Scary.
also imply that Hitoshi's at this point just too far gone. He's
Yeah.
completely lost
I think that's
his own
very
mind.
possible. He's completely lost his marbles.
Yes. And his actions get more erratic and tonally wrong, especially in these two episodes. He becomes almost impervious to the gloom and the impending death surrounding him. And we'll get to more like specific examples of that later. But it just the scenes with him and Koneko especially are unnerving to watch sometimes. They play off each other in a way that is like pure compassion versus just complete apathy.
Which one's compassion? Which one's apathy?
That's the thing. It
Just have it
almost
for our
depends
audience.
on the scene.
To the relationship, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We got really into it. Let's dial it back and go back into like scene by scene.
Well, I actually kind of want to go back to the rabies point there. I've done a
Okay.
little bit of
I think we
research
should, like,
here
try
on
to
live,
clear up
and
what
I've
part of the
found
episode
out.
we're talking about.
Do what?
What part of the episode are we talking about at this point? I feel
we
like we've gotten a little lost.
Yeah,
We've gone back to the rabies. We've gone
We'll
back to
go back to the
rabies.
rabies, and then we'll go back to our spiritual experience, which we aren't even through yet. This is a lot to unpack as we get into the
Very
last.
much
This is
so.
a very dense episode.
So whenever it comes to rabies, it looks like that most of the treatments here include shots, whether it be a fast-acting shot that you're supposed to usually have given like as soon as a bite kind of happens or thereafter, or it looks like that there are also vaccinations. So I mean, it's still kind of a complex virus to get rid of. So I wouldn't say that it's as treatable in humans as you might say, Rub. But
Yeah.
it's we still have ways to prevent it and cure it.
It's not really something to be that scared of if you're a human.
Well, if you have access to a
Unless you don't
shot
have access to
immediately
medical,
after
then
you've,
you're kind of screwed. But
yeah,
Yes, she easily waited a good week before symptoms.
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely,
she's
before
not very
symptoms
smart.
kicked in.
I think we cleared that up.
and it's also hard to get healthcare access. It seemed like for these
Oh, we
characters.
don't know
Yeah,
if
they live in an
they take her
Americanized
to a
Japan.
vet.
Of
Is
course
there
it is.
pet insurance? I've never heard of people getting pet insurance.
I mean, there probably is, but it doesn't seem like any of them have jobs. So
Well, also, as I've just said, they're an Americanized Japan, even more so than in real life. So of course they're not going to have easy access to health insurance.
yeah. But also they're a second-class citizen. There's a lot of odds stacked against them in general.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was a little too real. We should
Move on.
move on. Yeah.
Yes.
During the scene where Raku's letting the beast out, the background are these just really. I just want to highlight how well shaded the white flames behind her are, and the lighting just adds to this like intensity.
Yes.
It had me on the edge
definitely.
of my seat, definitely. Just very atmospheric, very good.
Yeah, very well done. Man, this is such a good show, honestly.
The times, I will say, the art can at times be kind of generic, but that lends itself to the subversion that it's doing. But there are scenes where it just evokes something, like this one specifically. It just hits. Really, it hits all the right notes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hitoshi continues, to your point, Rob, to use American idioms. I think he says "keep on trucking," and then he even says something to Koneko about how
I think
what
that was
what
in
he
the
said.
other episode when he sees the truck. I could be wrong. But
Yeah, he says "keep on trucking," which again is an
Unless
American
he's-
idiom, and he
Yeah,
says
yeah, okay.
he says something to Koneko about how what he said might be kind of esoteric or not commonly used. So
Yeah.
I think Hitoshi might have a lot of more exposure to American culture than the norm,
Yeah.
Then yes.
which kind of, I mean, an American's almost reminds me of American Psycho, how he acts. I think he's definitely one of the a commentary on high standing and capitalism, how it can just warp your
He
moral
is the
compass.
American Psycho.
Exactly. I think it starts to rain here, which is the first time that's ever happened in the series.
Yeah, we've never seen weather before except for it just being
Sunshine.
normally sunny. So
yeah.
it's really interesting seeing how they do rain in this art direction here.
Again, this is probably the most atmospheric episode in the series.
It really is.
You have the white flame, you have the rain,
You have
and the
Kami-sama.
oh, Kami-sama.
Oh.
That was such a bombshell and so out of left field. It almost leaves you wondering if it was real.
They never seem to be any. They don't practice any religion. They don't pray. They don't really go to. They don't. You don't see them go to any
No.
kind of church or anything. There's no
Or like
no
any temples
statues.
at all. There's no
Yeah,
mention
they never
of
really
it really.
talk about it.
Just suddenly,
I
oh my
they have
gosh,
bigger
it's
things.
The
God.
only thing you really have is like the mysticism behind the I'm gonna call her nurse again. I know that's not her name.
Vet-sama?
The Vet-sama. Thank you very much. Behind Vet-sama, how she has a mysticism behind her. But other than that, that's really it.
Yeah.
She has a very captivating voice.
I think she comes back in the finale if I'm remembering correctly. So don't worry, Rub.
And I am excited for that.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters. It's one of the first things I ask people when they seem upset. What seems to be the problem?
So yeah, it's raining, which it's the first time that's happened in the series. Again, very atmospheric. The line between Hitoshi and Koneko is starting to be drawn very vividly in these episodes. Koneko says something to the effect that she would lose purpose without Raku, while Hitoshi is distracted by his lover again. Again, as we discussed, probably real this time. Which
Yes.
led me to the question: Is his lover stalking him? I think
Well,
that
I mean,
this is the only
we
real
see-
instance of
it
him.
is. It really is.
till the next
Yeah.
And I
episode.
mean, yeah, well, I was gonna say we do see later on another instance of him, which is kind of for most first time viewers, they may not notice it, but I feel like that it could be that stalking part there.
That's what I'm wondering. Because
I feel like this is like more one of the realer ones, as you were saying, just because of he'd snap out of it though. In the end, he kind of snaps out of it, but like he's like physically there, just a shady figure passing by, but he recognizes that figure. He knows who it is. It is like a real occurrence happening.
yes, and that again, the lover thing is very disturbing because it's been going on literally since its inception. Since this stalker character, I'm sorry, since this
Oh yeah.
doctor character has shown up, he's been ever present. I think he's made an appearance, at least inside Hitoshi's mind, every episode since he first entered the series. And that, I think, just speaks to his pertinence to the finale and in what is going to happen in the near future. So keep that in the back of your mind as we go forward. But moving on further into the episode, Hitoshi Hitoshi converses with Koneko, and I think this is when this again is drawing the line. He seems to be noticing his own faults in her, and he calls her righteous. And I think that that speaks a lot for Hitoshi. He's almost having a moment of self-awareness, which I don't think we've ever seen happen prior in the series.
He realizes how much of a poor friend he truly is.
But he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I think he's
He's
always
like,
been
you're a
little
lot
bit
better
aware
than
of it.
me. Anyway, not gonna do anything about that fact.
But this is the first time he outwardly acknowledges it, Olivia, which was kind of big. But again, it doesn't seem it just makes him seem even worse because again, he doesn't seem to change on it. He just
doesn't
says,
change or do
"Wow,
anything about it.
Acknowledging
righteous."
you're an awful person isn't as
It's almost sarcastic or snarky.
It's almost
Yeah,
as if
maybe.
he's mocking her, which is how I read it. Yeah, for caring. So the thing that breaks the conversation in this tense scene is that a pack of wild Inus are attacking a Neko, and
Oh, this scene is very important to me.
I was surprised by Koneko's inbred disdain for dogs, which Raku seems to just completely not have in general.
She does. She reacts negatively.
She
to
reacts,
the dog.
yeah, but
Well,
like kind of like in a motherly way.
Not
but like
not in the vet's office. She seemed to be very amicable with the
very
canines.
much so.
And even here,
but now they're
she's kind of worried about her sickness. I don't think she's really paying attention.
Fair.
I mean, if you think about it with Raku-chan and her reaction with it before in the vet's office, before she saw Vet-sama, she's still in her healthy state. The effects of the rabies haven't kicked in yet. She's not in her more, I guess, if you want to say primitive form of being like an actual Neko or a cat.
Right. I thought this just highlighted her innocence and really what her character represented overall. In that she's not as tainted by the world as her two counterparts in the show. She's very she remains relatively static despite her just discouraging and horrible conditions, which speaks to her naivety, but but again on a symbolic level it says a lot. Okay. But yes, the dog and the cat scene. I believe Rub had a lot he wanted to say about this.
So I believe that the dogs represent America, and the cat represents Japan, respectively.
It's just how do you decide that? What gives you that impression from
So
this
I think
brief
because the
scene?
dogs are attacking the cat, right? Kind of like how American culture attacked Japan. Perhaps even the two dogs close together represent the nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, respectively.
Yes, but the important thing to note about this instance is that these dogs don't succeed.
Yes, but they try their hardest, and a citizen of a fellow cat. So this could be symbolic for something that might happen later.
The spirit of the
Destroy them.
Japanese people.
Yes, it never dies. It tries to hold on, which
Yes.
I think is more hopeful than literal. You know,
You think that they just need to give up and
it's just
submit?
more like a message. No, it's just more like a message that they are giving to their viewers.
Ah, I
You
see, I
get what
see.
I'm saying? Yeah,
You can be Koneko.
you can, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's happening.
Yeah, okay. I definitely see that's definitely a parallel. That's a solid parallel you have there. Um the scene directly following this, uh Hitoshi has this close up on his eye, where when they're recognizing Raku, Hitoshi has this close up on his eye, um, and eyes are heavy in symbolism in general. I mean, you see them all the time in art and films. This instance specifically reminded me of Blade Runner, the opening to Blade Runner, where you see the city reflected in the eyes of the main character. But he the fact that even he recognizes her means that there's some kind of feng
I think
shui or
just
vibe
kind
to her.
of he just kind of senses it.
Yeah, that's what I
He's
meant.
like, oh no.
There's some
Oh,
indicator that you can tell this is Raku-chan. Um,
yeah.
she's a spiritual being, as we see here when they pick her up. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure if she's supposed to be a chimera or something, but she has wings, which are like floating behind her, which is kind of a classic character design in anime. I just think it's strange that she has wings. It just I think it just is
I
a
think it's probably supposed to be more of a like a way to recognize her.
yeah, as a
That might
spiritual
be
being, I
actually
thought it was like a
how
quick
they
note.
recognize her actually.
Yeah, again, I
Because
think
why would a cat have wings?
because again,
Clearly
I
something
think
wrong.
it's shorthand for the audience to be like, oh, she's like a spiritual being, angel thing.
Mm.
I mean, them recognizing her, why would they recognize her with wings
I
opposed
don't
to
know.
without wings? Or I mean,
Probably maybe just because a cat normally doesn't have wings, or maybe there's some information about their
Or
kind that we
Koneko
don't know
knows.
about.
Koneko knows.
yes.
They know how this is.
Yeah,
So that would
exactly.
mean Hitoshi has some deeper knowledge of Neko girls. Or
Mm.
maybe his understanding comes from a deeper level than Koneko's, because again, we get that close up of his eye. Okay. Something I found pretty almost funny in this episode is that Hitoshi has all these idioms he uses, uh, but he doesn't know how to pronounce the word abode. He has to look it up, and
Abood. I
yes.
think this could
Yeah, like
represent
in his
maybe.
dictionary, he looks it up while it's raining. I thought that was an interesting scene there.
Well, America has certainly done a number on this world's Japan.
Yeah, they can't.
Clearly,
I
it's
mean,
not the
I guess
language
you
is
could
not perfect yet.
see the parallel there, or the subject there of like linguistic, excuse me, difference.
He's
Potentially
still
him not knowing all of the linguistic words.
abode
I
is a
mean,
pretty obscure word in English. To be fair,
it is. It's not very commonly used, and if it is,
Mhm.
it's more in a like a fancier way used by people to kind of I don't know how you describe it. It just kind of it's a different way of saying something else.
But the
Which
thing
is
about dictionaries is that if you look at a word, if you didn't know how to pronounce it before, looking at the word isn't going to help much. And the dictionary isn't going to help much because the the pronunciation is some obscure I don't know what it's called.
Well, like the actual written way of saying it, like how you
Yeah,
pronounce it.
yeah.
I mean,
with all
unless of
the
course you're
umlauts
very
and
Yeah,
stuff.
unless
Yeah.
you're very good at pronouncing those, which I do know some people who are very good at doing that. Unless he's trained and knows exactly how to pronounce each one of those syllables and letters and words in that and understands them, unlike many people who I know, probably a lot of people watching this don't really know how to do that themselves. Unless he's just that talented and knows how to, I'm not really too sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, this makes me think, especially from what Olivia said. I didn't think about that. Um, this just makes me assume Hitoshi has a much deeper understanding of English than his peers, even
But
if
still
he's
can't
able.
pronounce a boat correctly.
Yes, but he is after looking at the pronunciation, which, as you said, is something difficult to do unless you're trained to understand what all of those symbols above vowels mean, which he
So
apparently is.
is this an indication that Hitoshi is some Japanese history ingrained in him? That he's not purely American?
Yeah, well,
Mm.
I assume that based on his name, that he was probably at least somewhat like probably Japanese.
But you know, the thing about America is that we're a melting pot
Right.
of people.
Yeah.
So anybody could be named kind of any genre or
Genre of names.
Genre of
genre of
names, yes.
names. Of course, you know, a lot of
Yeah.
the names that we are named, that anybody can be named, aren't necessarily
S-
from English dialect anyway.
So he
No,
might,
they're from all over the place, really.
but typically those people who are named ethnic names are that ethnicity. So the next scene, Hitoshi and Koneko are at home, and Hitoshi deepens this growing divide we've been seeing build between her and him over the past few episodes by telling a joke. And Koneko is so unamused, she says something like, "This isn't the time," and he seems genuinely confused. Like
Mm.
this is the time. He should be telling a joke about this dire situation they're both in, because their dear friend is a rabid literal animal who can no longer really communicate with him, and she's dying. So that was, I mean, this is the tipping point for Hitoshi, especially in
Mhm.
the next episode. He's just, I don't know, it
He
gets almost
tries to act more friendly, admittedly, later on.
um I I'll argue that finer point when we discuss episode 8.
Okay.
But this is where
Are
we
we
get
still on
Kaneko's rat theory is in this conversation, where she thinks perhaps this change in Raku was triggered by the rabies.
Yeah. It's a disease that connects humans to the animals, you know? Because a
Yeah,
human can really only get it from an animal that attacked them.
and that made me wonder, especially on first watch, if her animal form was symbolic, and she wasn't literally this cat that we were seeing her
No,
be.
she was literally a cat. We can see that she's literally a cat.
We see that, but it can be symbolic.
She gets shoved into a backpack, man. I think she's literally a cat.
We're not really on that part yet. I think it comes in the next episode,
Yeah,
right?
that's
With
the
episode
next
8.
episode, and the backpack itself has a lot to unravel, so we'll wait to get to that. And I think we get some flashbacks, which I think are for the audience, but it could also be implying that these are flashbacks in Koneko's mind, like she knows what happened. But I'm not really sure. I doubt that's true, because if Koneko watched Raku get bit by a squirrel, she would probably tell Vetsama. But if she does know, that could have some implications later. And then it's just kind of a depressing ending to Nyan Neko Sugar Girls episode, maybe the most depressing yet. Um,
Yeah.
but I believe a few of you wanted to discuss the ending credits, which we haven't discussed in very much
We
length
haven't
yet.
really discussed that. No, we haven't. We noticed a couple of
So
things that I
I
really wanted to
noticed
talk about.
that the body of Koneko is
Yeah.
much more similar to
Well
Raku.
endowed.
Yeah.
Well endowed. is
Yeah,
relative.
well endowed,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah, definitely.
Very, very well endowed.
And I just think that's
That's
interesting.
interesting. I agree. looking at the ending credits, it almost feels like an early draft of the series, with Hitoshi being genuinely heterosexual, the girls having almost a switched body type,
Yeah.
which, again, it backs up the theory of Koneko as this motherly figure, right?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, that's actually that's a connection that makes sense. I kind of wonder why they switched to that then.
Yeah,
If
I
that-
think it's for the sake of more of a contrast in character design, making Raku a bit more, her character design causing a bit more, like, confusion, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on episode 7 before we move on to episode 8?
Not really. This one's
I just wanted
kind of
to
hard to talk about.
say that the fact that Hitoshi is named a Japanese name might not be a stretch of the imagination for him being also American, because
Oh, he's like
although
Hafu, yeah.
he might be half, but he might be just plain American too, because it's an America Japanese split. It's not America is still its melting pot, but it's almost half Japanese at the moment.
Right, because they are in Japan. Hitoshi clarified that during his speech as
Yeah, that
kidnapper.
fantastic speech in front of his
So
kidnapper. Yes.
I guess, yeah. So if Americans live in this colonized Japan, they could name themselves. Yeah, they could just name themselves like Japanese names. That would make sense. Okay. Anything else? Episode 7. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing else from me.
I want to say.
All right. Episode 8 is a real pick me up compared to the last one. It's kind of a. I would say it's a filler
Do we want to
episode,
say
save
it's a beach
for.
episode?
Yeah, filler's not. The beach
It's
episode
a
is more
filler.
like
It's
it.
definitely filler.
Rob,
Honestly,
did
It's
we
pretty-
watch
It
the
has
same
some-
episode? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was gonna
Are
say
you
it
kidding
has some
me?
good lore
Robbie?
in it. Filler episodes don't really have
Say
so
that
much
again.
lore to them.
It's not filler. You
Thank you.
totally misunderstood me.
Thank you. Okay. The episode starts with Koneko being really dramatized. Her whole face moves with her mouth, which is, reminds me of Akira, of course, one of the classics. And her concern is palpable. She fears for Raku-chan's life, so she wants to make the most of it. Meanwhile, we pan to Hitoshi, and he's, like, playing with a Chinese finger trap. Completely
That is very
no
funny in
care.
my opinion.
It's,
Yeah, he's playing the Chinese finger trap, and he's like, "Oh, is that so?"
yeah, it's definitely
Clearly does
delving
not
into
care
dark
what's going on.
Yes. The juxtaposition of
He's almost
Hitoshi's
just bored.
levity.
He's just bored, has nothing better to do. As you said previously,
Yeah,
none of
as
them
his
have
like,
jobs.
as one of his friends is like,
He's
has
got
this
nothing going
target.
on.
He's over here toying with a finger trap.
Yeah, he clearly does not actually care what's going on to his close friends.
He's looking for the next adventure.
Exactly.
See how the drama plays out. He's already this invested into it.
And now he's just really there at this point.
I
And
think
it's
he's
almost
honestly just hanging out with them so he could run into that guy again.
yeah. And because he uses them to fit in with polite society, bringing the American values and Japanese values, both which are generally very heteronormative, together, definitely does not bode well for a man with Hitoshi's proclivities. As I've said in previous episodes, Hitoshi needs to appear, especially since he seems affluent, he needs to appear heterosexual. So
he does that a lot in this episode.
Yes,
I think he projects a lot of the trying to cover up his true intentions.
He's doing it hard.
And you notice it's because they're in public.
Yeah, I never thought of that actually.
Yes. But
the thing is that in current day, in our version of Japan, homosexuality is still slightly taboo. Like it's not anywhere near progressive as our America is. Homosexuality in Japan is a taboo sort of hush thing to be involved with.
It's somehow more fetishized in Japan than it is even here. Which is why the use of these yaoi tropes in earlier episodes of Nyan Neko Sugar Girls are so evocative and powerful when juxtaposed with this real drama that it places you in afterwards, where it's like, look at look at how gay men are viewed in the only real positive way that they ever are, which is sexually. And now look at him struggle with that. And I just thought that was that was something that really resonated with me. But
Yeah, it's very deep.
back to Hitoshi being a psychopath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we need to go back there.
He just doesn't care. He's just there for a lot of this episode, using them, as we've discussed.
Yes.
And Koneko, of course, has to aid Raku because she's the only one who seems to care that she's dying. So she puts her into this bag, and this bag has the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls printed on it, which makes me wonder. I've thought of 3 options. This was embroidered by, like, Koneko. They have a brand name for these.
I think
Handbags? Not handbags,
actually,
but more
no.
backpacks.
They have like a brand name for this entire race, or this is the creator's way of trying to start like branding.
merchandise
Yeah.
branding. Yeah. That actually is probably what it is, honestly.
Oh, really? You think the creators just trying to start up a brand here?
I think this is like a kind of a subtle announcement for her.
Oh.
You know, obviously that didn't really go anywhere.
Say there is no
but-
official
Well,
merch.
no,
I
there
would
isn't.
I
Maybe
would
they
love
were
some
a bit more
official
I would
merch.
ambitious
eat some official merch up immediately.
Yeah, definitely.
I would
I would love to
$30
tell everyone that I watch this show.
ad T-shirt if it came from this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
Anyway.
I would love to admit to the world that I watch the show personally,
I would wear.
Who wouldn't?
I
who
love
wouldn't
this
want to?
show, man.
but I can't. I mean, I guess we kind
oh
of
my
are
God, there
right
is.
now,
Let's
but
go.
Yeah.
still.
Okay. That's, I guess that's besides the point, really. That's just an aside. Please make some Nyan Neko Sugar Girls merch. I
Please
need it.
do, please.
Please.
The next scene, we get the first voiced and designed character that we've seen, like, original and new for the last few episodes. And that's the ticket vendor.
I think she's related to Nurse, probably.
I think no, Rob, she was
That's
just
on the
speaking through the PA, like to talk to the outside of the booth.
Well, yeah, but the PA only does so much. I think she might be partially related, personally. It's my
I think
theory.
that's a stretch, and
Not that it truly matters at the end of the day, but like, still.
I mean, it'd be good to have that confirmed. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be very neat. It would be nice.
But this actually is kind of an important scene because she asks, "Will that be kids or adults?" And Hitoshi kind of lingers on
Says
that question
adults.
for a minute before
He says
answering
adults. I
adults.
think it's interesting because I thought they were children.
Yeah, and again, that just confirms that these are adult people. Except, again, we don't know if Raku is because she's not getting a ticket for admitting.
She's not getting a ticket. She's getting in for free. We don't know if she's classified as an adult,
think
as a
she just
child.
sneaks
We
in,
don't really know
honestly.
what she's classified as.
Yeah,
But I don't even. They left her out because pets probably aren't allowed in there.
they brought her in a bag.
Yeah, they took in her
Yeah.
bag. They just kind of
They smuggled her in, and they immediately got on a roller coaster, and somehow this triggered the change. I'm not entirely sure why.
Yeah.
Do you have any theories on why she reverts to
Unless
Raku?
it was
Probably
because the
the-
last episode. I think I have a theory. The last episode was just such a downer. This one they're going to like a whole amusement park. They're going on a ride. Unless it's just some kind of like
Well, yeah, but like,
shift
what
and
about
change of emotions from like a very sad, solemn state to going to a very joyful time. I'm on a roller coaster. Look at me. I'm having fun. To where they've changed back. That's
So,
my
okay.
guess.
She's just spiritually uplifted here.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the changing of the body is a spirituality, not so much the infection that's coursing through her.
well,
I mean,
Hopelessness is what
Her
changed
body
her,
is
not-
fighting back because typically when you're in a better mood, you feel better when you're like sick.
So is it a matter of willpower or is it just a ticking time bomb?
I think it's a matter of how she feels, because she was feeling hopeless priorly, and I think now she's feeling more. Yeah, I think it's a spiritual level. If we're going hardline, very literal, God turned her into a cat. I think it is a spiritual thing.
Okay.
But if
Glad we
we're
got
talking
that
symbolism, you could make definitely a different argument. But I think we're gonna stick hardline. God turned her into a cat because it's easier to analyze. But yeah.
Easier
Yeah.
to analyze, yeah.
I agree.
We'll just stick with that for now.
But when she wakes up, she thanks both Koneko and Hitoshi when literally only Koneko is deserving. This scene makes me so angry. Okay, so now that she is a person, Hitoshi, literally as soon as they get off of the roller coaster, he's got this girl on each arm. He's this big boy balling in the water park. He's not. He's he's exactly what we said before. This disingenuous,
Yeah.
closeted, pathetic man.
Wow, I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
I mean, he's definitely closeted. I think that term fits
Yeah,
him
the
well.
pathetic.
Very
I guess he is
twisted.
kind of
He's
pathetic,
very
yeah.
twisted and just watching these scenes make you feel kind of gross because
It really does.
and Koneko knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then we get this great scene. We get this great scene where he goes over and he vomits, just for a substantial amount of time. And I still think that represents him feeling physically ill at himself for what he's doing and what
Yeah.
he's done.
Okay.
And after he's done with, Raku's trying to comfort him because she doesn't know. But Koneko laughs at him. She laughs at him. And he turns over and he says this line with such
Yeah.
such conviction and just he seems genuinely hurt. And he says,
Koneko.
"Oh, Koneko, you
wound
wound me."
You wounded.
And it's this that scene is stuck in my mind for literally years. I think it might be my favorite scene. And then
It's a good one.
and then even more unsettling after this interaction of her cackling at his vomiting his own
Agony.
disgust.
Mental
They all
and
laugh.
physical.
They all laugh at his line about her wounding him. And this might
I
be
think he tries to play it off as a joke.
Oh, because of Raku's fucking injury. You wound me. Like he
perhaps.
Oh.
Okay,
I
that
saw that.
I never thought of that either. I just thought
I
this.
had neither. No.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
he's
That puts some new
continuing to make
perspective.
light of
Wow.
her illness.
Wow.
What a
what
great
guy.
guy.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Also, during these scenes, I think there's new music, which was cool to hear.
Yeah, and it
It's
really
definitely
was.
very upbeat.
A change to the soundtrack a little bit. It was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. This is when the swimsuit parts comes in. This is a great moment.
Uh-oh.
So we get a new character too. He's the swimsuit vendor. He's not voiced, but he's a unique design, and I liked him. I like
this
his
is also
design.
proof of Toshi's
You never get to see him
desperate
again,
attempts to
but
cover
yeah,
up his
so-
homosexuality.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Tries way too hard here.
Or he might be trying to humiliate her actively, but I don't really know if Raku would. I think
clearly
it's
did.
probably.
I
Choose
don't
to
think
do it.
Raku
mean,
has
I
has
think
the
it-
mental capacity to be
Yeah.
to be embarrassed of her own body.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that the swimsuit that he purchased, I don't know if it was potentially on purpose, but like a little bit too small.
Yeah, and it's clearly him leading her on, like blatantly. With
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Pretty mean.
But when she goes to the women's restroom to change, the kanji for women's room is above, so their language persists. If in just strange places.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Raku comes out, and she's in her swimsuit, which is a two-piece, very small, as we've said before.
Very flattering.
And she
Yeah.
she gloats about how she got in for free, which was one of the
Because
most
she was
lucid
smuggled
moments
in.
she's had in like
Yeah.
the last
For
several
like
episodes.
for
Yeah,
quite a
yeah.
while now, yeah.
He or she's perfectly fine, just enjoying the day.
Yeah.
Excellent to see from the group, even though Hitoshi is
Being a dick.
closeted.
Yeah, but I mean, this is honestly, it's questionable if this is even harmful to Raku or if it's kind of nice because she doesn't understand that she's being used. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she doesn't And she's not
Really.
even, but it
She's-
seems like Koneko isn't really like peering into the situation either. She
doing
follows
much
along,
beyond. Yeah.
allows her to wear that swimsuit, allows Hitoshi to buy
again,
it for
again,
her.
I think Koneko has the same idea that I do in that what's the harm? I mean, eventually she's going to get hurt, but at this point in time, the boy
I
she
mean,
likes seems to be flirting with her.
if
So
we're assuming Koneko as a
So she'll
motherly
be happy.
figure, what kind of motherly figure would allow their daughter to dress like that,
that's
especially in front of a boy?
Koneko isn't her mother. Koneko has this.
Yeah, they're just really good friends. They just
It's-
have the
Koneko
instinct
just-
is
like
there.
she is.
Koneko just lords over her. They have a twisted relationship we've gone into in the past, and while she is the mother figure, she's not a mother. She is a
Caretaker
yeah with
with benefits.
yeah. It seems like
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
There's definitely some homoerotic subtext at the end of this episode, but
Really,
I mean, maybe
never thought of
Koneko
that.
liked it too. That's why she let her wear it.
yeah,
Oh,
that's a good point.
Oh,
That's probably it.
I had never thought of that.
Yeah. Good perspective. Good take. Tit for tat. As soon as Raku comes out and gloats about,
Good pun.
Wow.
As soon as-
I
as
don't
soon
think that was
as-
meant to be a pun, but
as soon as
Yeah.
Raku comes out and talks about getting in for, free, Hitoshi of course has a great line: 2 hot Nekos for the price of 1, which is just like
Good line.
he's so excessive at this point. It's almost comedic. With
Yeah.
violent,
I mean, Koneko brought
heterosexuality.
her own bathing suit. He only paid for one bathing suit, so technically he kind of
I think
did.
he's kind of more talking about the price of admission to actually get into the park,
Yeah.
or not the amusement park.
you
Yeah.
might be right.
Yeah, and I think at this point his mask is so much a part of him. He can just once it's on, it's on. Like it's so unsubtle, especially in this episode. It's like, man,
No
he's
one
just
cared who I was.
I'm
until I
gonna
put
lie,
on the
Hitoshi has
mask.
a fat ass.
he does. I have a note.
You could even say, "Oh,
I
never
think we've
mind."
had a couple notes on that, haven't we? To just talking about the
Fun compilation of
The
them
dump truck.
in the
That
wave
ass
pool.
is?
Yeah. Fun compilation in the wave pool. Hitoshi just gets completely exposed. Just his swimsuits, his swim pants are gone, swim trunks.
Yeah,
Outta
and we
here.
see some interesting things here.
Yeah. During this montage of their reactions to his genitalia, we see his stalker in the back with a nosebleed, which is, anime shorthand for erection.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how Koneko reacts personally.
Almost somewhat
Also
annoyed,
agree.
it
Almost
looks like.
disappointed.
she just looks unamused, maybe
Yeah.
disgusted.
Uninterested.
Is not happy to have
Uninterested, yeah.
seen that. Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
Raku's
so.
nose is also bleeding.
Well, see,
Clear-
okay,
obviously, yeah.
This is. I mean, children have a somewhat basic understanding that they shouldn't see the opposite sex naked. But Raku seems to understand the implications of seeing Hitoshi naked.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, she's lusted after his body before. Like, this isn't new, but yeah, this
His
is just
body or his face?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, kids can know what cute and ugly is, but
Right.
In terms of body, they don't really know any better until they hit puberty.
Yeah.
And I mean, she seems to be past puberty for sure.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can
she's-
kind of
yeah.
tell
Clearly,
some
she's-
ways or
yeah.
another that she's kind of past that point.
Gee, I kind of wonder though.
Do
But
you?
mentally, she's just obviously it hasn't hit her in that way.
No.
I think it has.
It has to an extent, but how her personality, unless some of it's an act.
An act or just her blatant innocence?
If she was innocent, she wouldn't be nosebleeding right here.
Yeah, I agree with that. She knows what she's seeing. She knows exactly what it implies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But she's not a mature person. She doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't.
Well,
You
she
know,
is.
handle it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And that again goes back into innocence, naivete, etc. What we've established for her, and these scenes just kind of help that along. Episode 8
Okay.
continues the ending with this kind of quiet decompression of what's happened up until this point.
You almost forgot about the stalker in the background, Ben.
Yeah, we almost
Did I
forgot
mention
to bring
him?
up that point.
Yeah,
we
I
didn't
thought I
mention him
mentioned
just yet,
him.
actually.
I
No, we
must
didn't.
have missed it.
Oh yeah. He was in the background. Again,
he's
this
just
is
in the
what makes me think
background.
he's probably stalking them.
Yeah, he's definitely stalking. Yeah, just because he's appeared not only in the I guess what we deduce to not be a hallucination, but to be actual
Last
like
episode,
fact.
Hitoshi being passed by the stranger.
Yeah, but being passed by him, like that wasn't a hallucination. He was actually there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that this kind of adds on to that point
And
that
this
he was
time he's there.
actually present.
And we don't see Hitoshi's reaction, so it seems like he might not even notice him. So this is for us as the audience to know that he is literally there.
Stalking them. Yeah, he's there.
That's kind
In
of
the flesh.
unsettling, honestly.
Yeah. So this episode, as I was about to go on about, this episode ends with the quiet decompression we're getting used to. They're kind of talking. Koneko's trying to mask her concern, and Raku seems to still be in somewhat high spirits, and is also not turned back into a cat. And they're again drinking green tea, one of the most important symbols to the entire series in this vital scene. And then it also makes me wonder as the scene ends, because they're in bed very near to each other, if they have always slept together. It doesn't seem like it, because they've woken up independently in different beds.
Yeah, in different beds in different houses.
Yeah.
They don't live together.
So
they've just recommended like a sleepover.
I think Koneko's doing this because Raku's sick. She's like staying in the same house.
Could be.
Because otherwise, I don't think that would make sense. And then Raku, of course, has some thoughts about, wow, I have rabies. She just thinks the rabies is gone, which is almost a childish thing to think, that you just don't have rabies anymore because you feel like you've had a good day.
Not very smart. I feel like we've kind of cleared that
Yeah,
up.
but just to think that you've been cured from rabies.
Of rabies, just by having a single good day. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
And that.
Well, maybe it works different. I mean, we don't know how their biology works.
Maybe we don't. But
yes,
still.
but if they're a cat and a person, both of those are affected by rabies. They could both get rabies and die from rabies.
That, I mean, cat
Yeah.
genetics and human genetics are separate. Do you think there's like an additional effect since she's a little bit of both?
Well, I guess we'll see if that's explained in the last episode, because that's where we're left off.
In the second to last one, we've still got number 9, right?
Yeah, 9. Yeah, and then
the finale, the final.
That's right, man. Any final thoughts on these two episodes? Episode 8, episode 7.
Just gearing up for the finale. Gave us one. I bet I haven't seen the ending, but I bet this is just the last good bit before it just takes a downhill slope.
It just, I mean,
it's the impending doom.
Different.
It is. It's got its twists. It's got its turns. Definitely something to look forward to. The finale. It's one of the best endings to maybe any series. Very fulfilling. Ties up all the loose ends. You leave it feeling, happy and fulfilled. Well, not happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say happy.
You leave.
I don't know about fulfilled either. There are still some parts that are kind of left unsaid. Really, I feel.
Oh, what?
Well, I guess
okay, we'll save it. We'll save it for the.
We really do need to save it for the finale. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You think if it's unsaid, it's left up for you to decide. Okay, I'm done talking about this. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time when hopefully we'll be of sound mind and ready to discuss the ending. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.